Well, hello, Houston. Welcome to Casa, Vida, Houston. I'm Elizabeth Liz Miranda, your bilingual realtor with Miranda Properties. And as usual, we want to go ahead and start off by thanking our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Susie Condelopoulos. She is a loan officer with Gateway Mortgage. So if you're looking to get pre-approved for a home loan, make sure you give Susie a call. Make sure you give her a call. She can help you out. Our second sponsor is Texas Low Cost Insurance Agency. They specialize in homeowners insurance. So if you're looking to buy homeowners insurance or flood insurance, give them a call. It doesn't matter where you're at in Houston or anywhere in Texas. They can help you. And moving on to our show, of course, I want to welcome my co-host, Sonia Rivera. Welcome, Sonia.
Hi, Liz. How are you? Thank you for having me again.
Yes. And so how was your Halloween?
It was scary. So this was truly the very first scary Halloween I've ever had. The weather was horrible. I live downtown, and I literally thought a hurricane was coming through. It was just slapping the windows, and I just thought my power went out. It was crazy. The thunder and the lightning was quite scary.
I know, and of course it was also scary, for kids being out there, on Halloween. I know, of course I have a 13-year-old, and I was kind of scared for him because he had already asked me if he could go to his friend's house so they could go trick-or-treating. And so I said yes, but then I was like, I was kind of worried about, being out there raining. But of course he was with the parents of the kids. So
Sure,
they were okay. They had a nice time. But, of course, a lot of candy. Good thing for me is he doesn't eat candy. So he left all his candy at his friend's house.
Well, I'm thinking I'm going to go do some adult trick-or-treating today and collect some of that leftover candy that people weren't able to give out.
That's a good idea. You know what? Speaking of that, actually, I had a couple of notes here where I looked up, I'm like, what do people do with the leftover candy? And there's actually, let me see if I can find it here on my notes. There's actually a site called HalloweenCandyBuyback.com. And I didn't put it on the screen. Yeah, but I looked it up earlier. It says HalloweenCandyBuyback.com. And so what it is, if you go online and you look it up, they have like a list of dentist offices that you basically, the kids will take their candy and they'll get a gift or a little, something
Sure.
in exchange for the candy.
How nice.
I thought that was a great idea. And then there's another one called Soldier Angel, and they have a thing called Treat for Troops. So the same thing, you donate all your candy and then they ship it over.
I just
to the
noticed
troops.
that, and I actually love that because I remember when my nephew was in Afghanistan, he was craving Lucas, and they don't have any of that, so I actually love that idea of sending it over to the troops so they can have a little taste of home.
Yes, I think that maybe it's something probably new, but hopefully it becomes more popular because
Absolutely.
they don't need that much candy, trust me. And then the last thing that I saw online was called Switch Witch. I love this idea. So this is a good idea for parents. It's kind of like the Tooth Fairy. So what happens is your kids, right? They go trick or treating, then they gather all their they gather all their candy and they put it in one location, right? And at night while they're sleeping, the good witch comes and switches their candy for some kind of prize, some kind of little toy or something.
They don't get switched out for broccoli, right?
No. So it's kind of like the Tooth Fairy.
That's
so
cool.
as a parent, I think that's a really, really good idea.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it until today when I just happened to be looking up stuff, about the candy. I'm like, what do people do with all the leftover candy? Then, of course, the other thing was, that today is, today is Dia de los Muertos. But, of course, in Mexico, they actually celebrate it for 3 days. They actually start yesterday, October the 31st, through November the 2nd. And we talked about that last week with Mr. Macario Garcia, or Ramirez, rather. And one of the things that I thought was important that today is also All Saints Day. And then tomorrow is All Souls Day. Now, these are Christian, holidays, or not holidays. These are Christian, celebrations, right? And they all kind of seem to go together, and the reason I thought about it is because I actually have some people that I outsource some work to in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a couple of girls that, do some work for me from the Philippines, and they're off today. And it's a big holiday in the Philippines.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
big day. Everybody goes to the cemetery, just the way in Mexico do.
Sure.
In Mexico, they do it for Dia de los Muertos. And then in the Philippines, they do it for All Saints Day. And I mean, I've heard well, I heard, and then I actually looked it up. There's thousands and thousands of people in the Philippines that go to the cemetery to visit, to be with their family
Oh,
all
wow.
day. And apparently in other countries, they do it too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like all the same, but it's different. And then of course October the 1st is called All Hallow Eve, which is also Christian, but I guess that's where we get the Halloween.
Right, right.
Day from.
Well, it was really interesting. I was a little sentimental last night because I've been building an altar to my grandmother who raised me and to my nephew, Luis Ramirez. And he, so I've been building my altar little by little after, and particularly I put more love into it since we've been doing all this Dia de los Muertos theme. And it was so interesting. I was looking for photos yesterday, and the one that popped up first was the one of my nephew and my grandmother together, and that's the only picture I have of them that I have of them together. And it was just so interesting. I said, oh my gosh, it's, it was just almost like a message from above that this is the picture you have to use on your altar. So I think it's a beautiful tradition, but it's definitely something that just is really soothing to your soul to know that it's that one day that you just feel, you feel close to your loved ones every day, but I think it's that it just really helps that process
Right, and
bit.
I'm glad that that we're kind of like experiencing, that again, and that we're kind of really getting into it, because I know that for me, and like I said, when my sister Elvira Diaz Ocampo, she does altars. She's done beautiful altars for TBH, for Mecca. She's a great artist. But I kind of thought it was kind of creepy when she started doing the altares, even though I grew up with an altar in my home because my grandmother had an altar always at the house. But I thought that's from, old people, that we don't do that anymore. But I'm glad that we're getting back those traditions.
Right.
And in fact, today I had put a different pair of earring on, and then I remembered that I saw these earrings, and I remembered that my mother gave these to me, and I haven't worn these in years.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd wear something that she gave me, and then I wore a ring that she gave me. So yeah, it really does help you connect with the loved ones that you love.
And it's a celebration of their lives. It's a celebration of their lives, because I think that many people maybe who don't understand the holiday, or maybe before, I think I felt that way too. It's like, wow, it just did seem kind of morbid, but now I look at it as a complete celebration of their life, what they meant to you, the lessons that they taught you. And
yeah,
beautiful.
I agree. Changing the topic, another thing is we have daylight savings time coming, and that's going to be November the 4th, which is Sunday, and we're going to turn the clock back.
Fall back.
Right, I finally remembered you fall back. So you turn the clock back. So don't forget, guys, that on Sunday you got to turn the clock back. And one of the things that's important about that, that they don't do that everywhere. Not every country does. We do it, but not every country does. So there's times where it's kind of weird when you're working with someone from overseas.
Yeah.
They're like, why did you change your time?
Well, I'm actually laughing because I saw a meme this morning. It was about Stonehenge. There's like those gigantic stones up in, I think it's Ireland, or and so they said, Stonehenge workers working all night trying to set the clock forward because it's a big time telling tomb.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and get a history lesson.
Yes. Okay, guys. Well, we're gonna go ahead and take a little commercial break, and then we're gonna come back with Oralia Diaz with You Roll, and we'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Casa y Vida Houston, and now we have our guest Oralia Diaz with You Roll. Welcome, Oralia, to our show.
Thank you for having us, Elizabeth. We are very happy to be here.
Glad to finally be able to have you on our show. So I want you to tell me, first of all, about the organization. Now, is it called You Roll, You Girl, or You Guy? I know had
Yes.
different names, so tell us a little bit about that.
The organization is called You Roll Inc. It started out as You Roll Girl, and it was primarily for women with disabilities, but we realized that men with disabilities have the same issues and wanted to be a part of our group, so we started You Roll Dude. But now to encompass everything else that we do, we have just renamed it You Roll Inc.
Okay, and when did you start the organization?
We started the organization in 2015. we became a nonprofit in 2017. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Oh, I don't know why I thought you had started in 2005. That would have been a long time ago.
That would
So
have
it's
been
a
a long
fairly,
time.
so it's
It's a
fairly
fairly
new.
new.
So it's 2015, and you started off as You Roll Girl, which I think that's a cute
Right,
name, and that stuck to me because I've seen the logos with the
Right.
with the girl in the wheelchair. So that's really cool. So you started in 2015, and in 2017 you became an official nonprofit. But it's always been nonprofit from
It's
the
always
very
been
beginning.
nonprofit,
Yeah.
that's correct,
So
yes.
and you're the founder. You started
I
it
am the
yourself. So
founder,
tell
yes.
us a little bit about why. Why did you start?
Well, as a person with a disability, I realized that there was a need in my community with other women with disabilities to have a setting where they could communicate with other people with like interests or like issues, where you could actually relate to someone who's your peer. And so we again, we started primarily for women because we knew that women, as disabled women, we have the same issues. And it's not just accessibility. We have issues. Everyone has issues with accessibility. But we deal with other things such as, social issues, life issues, being a woman with a disability that goes through pregnancy, that romance dating. All of those are issues that affect us. Finding a job, so we meet every 2 weeks for a support group, but not necessarily to air out our, things about illnesses, or we talk about the things that are affecting us today, about trying to get a job. What do you do? How do you date? Everything is different for a person with a disability, and people don't really, unless you're in these wheels, you don't really realize. Yeah.
Do you think would you consider it more of I guess it's more of a support group and maybe more of an encouragement?
Right.
Motivational?
Our mission is really to empower and support, empower, and help people to get to independence. And by for independence, it's not, we want them to have independence as adults, to be treated as adults, and to find financial independence by going back into the workforce. Most people do not, about 17% of disabled people are employed.
And there are
That's
so
it.
many different types of disabilities,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
we discussed it briefly on the way here, and we were talking about how just because you look like you can doesn't mean that you have full capacity. And I think that it's something that people really take for granted. And considering it's 2018, you would think that it's nothing new. What has your experiences been in terms of the job availability of jobs? Or
I myself
accessibility?
have always been employed. I've been either employed in the private sector. I was employed and retired after 30 years of employment. But I also run a small business, so I've always been employed. But it was very difficult for me to enter the job market initially, and so based on that information, based on my personal experiences, I realized that it's still in 2018 very difficult for people to find employment.
Wow.
Because as you said, you hit it perfectly on the head, that it's because you look different, people assume that you can't do anything.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think, of course, we're very familiar with employment discrimination based on race. There's been on race. There's as far as gender also, but honestly, when it comes to disability, it's even greater. And so So if you're saying only 17% of people with disabilities are employed, that's 83 that are not employed.
Exactly.
So and then I would imagine that, and I would imagine it would be sometimes it's not necessarily because they're not employable. It's not because they don't have skills or knowledge. It's because of the discrimination.
Exactly.
Right.
It's because of discrimination.
And then
So-
the other, I'm supposed to say, another thing would be not only that, but I would imagine that for them, maybe they get discouraged.
Yes, they get very discouraged when people start turning them down. But again, based on my experience, I was turned down at every job that I applied for, and finally, after 2 years of looking for a job, I found a full-time job.
And what was your first full-time job?
My first full-time job was as a telephone operator for AT&T. I progressed with the company and stayed with the company for 30 years.
What would you like people to know? Because I've known you for several years
Yes.
now, and I just think you're a phenomenal individual, and you give so much to not only the disabled community, but just the community in as a whole. But what would you like people to know?
I guess I would like to say that there's 55 million people with disabilities in this country alone. Many of whom are all types of disabilities, but many of whom are physically impaired and are wheelchair users. And in 2018, we should be integrated part of society, but
Sure.
we're not. We're the biggest minority, but we are still a very marginalized group. And so we want people to know that we're here, that we're just like everybody else, that we do everything like everyone else.
Sure.
And that possibly, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are curious and they really don't ask or look at us. You can ask questions, you can see, you can go on our on our Facebook pages, on our website, and see that we do a lot of things. Besides the support group, we have a dance group. We do roll dance. We do a lot of social events. One of my priorities is to have people come out into society so that people see us. You don't see us out there enough, so you don't really know how to act. So we do a lot of social events. We have dance nights, karaoke, a lot of stuff. Right now, our main focus is on training people to go back to get job skills or start their own small business. Last year was our very first time that we did that, and we have 2 women that actually started their own business based on that.
Awesome.
We partner with a small company that also only hires disabled. So that's that's one way to start. One of the things that I view is that if people won't employ you, then you have to make your own way. You either find a way to start your own little business, or I myself, said I own a business. I only hire disabled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I'm sorry, you mentioned something about people not seeing you, and I think that when it's not something, we have the tendency to maybe ignore things that we don't understand or pretend it doesn't exist, and I would imagine that's probably has to be one of the most difficult things is for people to be walking around as if you're not there, and I think that perhaps maybe do you have events that integrates mainstream with?
We do a lot of mainstream events. Again, everything that we do, we try to do outside of an institution type
Right,
setting. We
right.
want people to be out and be social. So we do try to do. We have events at TBH. We have an upcoming event, as a matter of fact. We do fashion shows. We do everything that everyone else does. What we and the people look at us differently because of the chair, but we're just like everyone
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
Right here.
But tell us about this. Tell us about this event that you're having at TBH.
So at we're having a Christmas party at TBH.
And that's
It's
for your
open to the
members?
public, for our members and their family, guests and family. We will have we're going to have entertainment. Our featured entertainment is from a project that's for the disabled. They are 2 gentlemen that are blind and have and they sing and they sing songs that have been changed to include their inclusion. Everything is inclusion with us. We want to be included in everything, so we've changed words to songs that are inclusive for us.
Yeah, and I would think that one of the things, of course, when it comes to like your events, like you said, you want people to come, but you want them to be just to see you as just other people, not to come and feel sorry
Right.
for you or think that they can only come in. I mean, I'm sure you need help. Any organization needs volunteers, right? But you want them to be able to come and socialize with you, with
Exactly.
everyone,
Right.
as just as regular people.
Exactly.
That's what you should
we
be
don't.
doing.
We want you to come and socialize as if we're regular people. We don't want you to tell us that we're an inspiration to you, that we're superhuman, we're so fabulous, because I'm no different than you, except that I have better accessories.
That's true. That's true. Well, let's talk about the as far as your funding. I would imagine that knowing you, that you started it all by yourself with your own money,
Exactly.
right? And you
Exactly.
probably put most of your money in. For
I put
everything.
most of my money in to this organization.
So, do you get any kind of funds from anyone?
I do have, actually, I do have a few of my clients at my business that are very supportive, and they always give us a donation. They
Small
always help us.
businesses.
Very small.
Very
Well, no,
small
actually, they're individuals, not
Or
small
individuals.
businesses. No. We also try to do a GoFundMe page, but, it's difficult to get funding because although we are a nonprofit organization, we're adults. And people kind of see that a little bit differently. You can do a lot more when it's a younger child, but as adults, they see us a little bit differently. And also, I can't really. We post things that we do with the job fairs that we do. We post some of the things that we do, but a lot of the things that we do it may appear to others that we're just socializing, but that's because of the topics that we discuss. We can't really publicize it, so we can only put up pictures of events that we socialize at.
Well, not only that, but again, your membership is unique in
It's
that
very
in
unique,
that they don't have anybody else to talk to about like dancing. Okay, so
Exactly.
you're gonna have a karaoke night or you're gonna have a dance night. This is their only opportunity to be able to socialize sometimes.
That is correct.
Outside
That
of
is their
to
own
come outside,
and
to leave the house.
that's why it's so important, because most of these people, a lot of these individuals are not able to leave their house. There's issues with transportation or whatnot. So when we do social events, it may be the only opportunity that they have to go to a dance club, they go to karaoke, to a Christmas party, and events such as, because they don't really have those options. They're not readily available to
So
us.
while it seems like it's just just fun and games, it's not.
It's not.
It really serves a purpose. And then, but also as far as I can imagine, there's a cost involved for these individuals to come to your events.
Yes.
So what does it take for someone? So if for a lot of your members, say they're going to go to the Christmas party, what's it going to take for them to get to the Christmas
Well,
party?
as far as because, as you said, I run the organization. I try to I make sure that there is no cost involved for the member. The only cost involved to the member is finding a way to get there, whether they Uber, they take the Metro Lift transportation. That is their only cost. When we do an event like a Christmas party, we're not going to ask members.
But I would imagine it would be difficult for them. How easy is it for them to get Metro Lift?
Oh, it is. It's not very easy. It takes a very long time. It's a very limited service, but at least it's something that they can use.
And then Uber, I'm sure there's not a lot of Uber.
No, there is not a lot of Uber. If you're depending on the type of wheelchair you're in, if you're in a power chair as I am, it is very difficult to find an Uber.
Yeah. So.
But we are working on that. Again, among the other things that we do, we are also very involved in changing the concepts, going to speaking to the city to make changes, changing ramps, doing everything that we can to make the city much more accessible so that we can be out there freely.
Okay. But again, you don't have any kind of grants or any kind of money like that.
We have
in. So,
no money, no grants, no funding coming in. We basically fund it ourselves.
and I think you said you have a budget of about 15,000.
I have a budget about 15,000 that I put into
so
it every year.
That's not much at all, because I can tell you that she puts in most of the money. So guys, if anybody that's out there, you're looking for a cause to support, please, get in contact with Oralia. If you're looking for a cause to support, you want to do a fundraiser, I'm sure she's more than welcome. You also want to volunteer, please also, give her a call. Just simply, of course, they do need help sometimes. I know my son went and volunteered a couple of weeks ago to help them with they were doing like dancing practice, and he actually really enjoyed it, he says, and he's going to go and help also in December. So how can they get a hold of you, Oralia, if someone wants to get a hold of you?
We have a website at urollinc.com. We also have a phone number, 713 352-3111, or they can reach me on my personal number, which is 832-419-7465. I'd also like to take just a minute to say to anyone watching, we are going, and if you know anyone with a disability, we are having a speaker, Dr. Peg Nozak, next Friday, November 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. at 1475 West Gray, which is a multi-service center for the city of Houston. She will be discussing body image, sex, and disability, which is a topic that is really important in our segment of the community, in our community. And I'm sure that a lot of people out there in your audience know someone who's disabled who would really benefit from hearing that conversation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Oralia. I really appreciate you being here, and we look forward to having you again next year.
Thank you for having
Oralia.
us. Thank you
You're
both.
welcome. And we will be right back after this commercial. Welcome back to Casa Vida Houston, and for our next segment, we want to talk about selling your home. We've been talking. I've been getting a lot of phone calls lately from people that want to sell their home, and sometimes people are a little bit unrealistic about about the price of their home, and sometimes it's people that are maybe in foreclosure and they're unrealistic. They want to sell it for full price, or sometimes their home needs a lot of repair and they still want to sell it for a full price. So the thing is that homes are definitely going up in value, but I want you to understand that you've got to take into consideration the, what your house looks like at the time, right? And I know we've talked about this, Sonia, before,
Sure.
right? That about pricing a home.
Right. Well, what it looks like at the time, and I was asking you a question in terms of location. Location, you would think that I love the downtown area, and you would think that everything is a really expensive. The cost of buying a home in that area is super expensive, but there's still a little pockets of areas that are still low priced. at a
Right,
reasonable
right.
price.
And like I told you before, yeah, the location is very important. I was telling you that you were talking about, you can see a rundown home close to downtown, and you're going to think that that home is it's inexpensive, that you could get that house for $50,000. But the thing is, it'll be a $300,000 home because really, it's really the land. It's because it's so it's so close to downtown. It's a very desirable area right now, so it's
Right.
going to be very expensive. But at the same time, just because that house is selling for whatever amount, it doesn't mean that your house, even a mile or two away, is going to sell for the same amount.
Right.
And so that's one of the hardest things that I find when I talk to people when they want to sell their home, is explain to them the value. So one of the things that I want to explain to people, and also, not, first of all, it's the value, and then also your situation. So I want to talk about foreclosures first, because I've been talking to a lot of people lately that are facing foreclosure. And when it comes to foreclosure, there are solutions if you're behind on your payments. First of all, if you're behind on your payments, if you're only behind a few payments, you probably can work it out with the bank. You can also apply for what's called a modification. Now, I cannot do a loan modification for you. In fact, I had somebody ask me that. No, I cannot do a loan modification. I can give you some advice, maybe tell you what to do, kind of guide you in the right direction, maybe send you some information. So if that's you, that you're facing, foreclosure, and you're only, or you don't have the foreclosure notice yet, okay, but you know that you're behind on your payments, then you can always call me, and I would be happy to, send you in the right direction to get information.
I imagine that's such a scary process for somebody.
It is very scary, and that's the thing. There's a difference when you're behind one or two payments and you're employed, and you can get caught up. You just
Right.
need that to skip a payment or two. That is one thing that sometimes, if you're only behind like two payments, let's say you were sick or you were unemployed for a month or two, you can always call the bank and ask them, can I skip a payment? And I've actually seen that happen, where you call them, you tell them your situation, but you have to tell them, I can make payments. It's hard for me to get caught up with these two payments. And they can actually move one of the payments to the end. So I have seen that happen.
Yeah. Well, and I would have to say, like, be really careful who you go to, too. You definitely have to communicate with someone like Liz, or somebody who's experienced in doing this, because there are so many unscrupulous people that will take advantage of that situation.
It's very, very true. In fact, I had a gentleman that I did a loan for, because I used to be a loan officer before I was a realtor. I was a loan officer, a mortgage loan officer, and I did a loan for a man, a really, really nice man, a family man, his wife and his two kids, and I did a loan for them. And then he became unemployed. He got injured on the job. He was unemployed, and then he was very limited to the money that he was bringing in, so he got very behind on his house, and so he was about to lose his home. He was getting notices and notices. And so anyway, they hadn't filed at the courthouse, but he was getting all these notices. So he actually paid a company $2,500 for them to do a loan modification. And they never did anything for him. And so he comes to my office. And by this time, when he comes to me, I'm already a real estate agent. And so I had told him, I had helped him with the loan a few years back. So anyway, so he comes to me and I mean, almost in tears. Because he's like, it was like almost like it meant like his manhood, like he could not do this,
Right.
lose his home. And so, I said, I don't do that. And then you know what? I picked up the phone. I said, I'm going to help you. I can't promise you anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call. I'm not charging you a penny, but only because you're my customer. And I said, I can't promise anything. Let's just give it a try. And I called and called. We did all sorts of things. You're not going to believe this, but I got him a loan modification.
Great. That's
So
awesome.
I'm not telling you anybody that I'll do a loan modification. I will not do a loan modification for you. But what I'm saying is it can be done. It can be done. I mean, if you know the steps, and I had never done one before. I just simply looked it up. Okay, what did I need to do? And I guided him. And he came. I said, you come in. And he was Spanish speaking. And I called for him. I put him on the line. We'd call. And he did everything he had to do. And he was able to get the loan modification and save his home. And he still has his home.
So I know you're giving advice as to how to handle it when you get a little bit behind, right? But if someone is that far behind, who are the best people to contact?
Same thing. Contact your realtor, because there are other options. If you're very behind and you're not going to be able to get caught up, and let's just say you're disabled or you don't have a job, I mean, you have to be realistic. There's a time when you've got to give up. You've got to stop the bleeding, because it doesn't do any good. Some people, they try to hang on, and they're putting whatever money they do have left into it, and they're never going to get caught up, and they're going to lose their house eventually. So there are choices, of course. I mean, some people do take the route of filing for bankruptcy. That can stop, but the same thing, if you don't have a job, that's not really going to help you, because you still have to make payments. Filing for bankruptcy doesn't mean, oh, you're not going to pay anything. You still have to pay. The other thing is, if you contact a realtor, we can do what's called a short sale. Now, a short sale means that we will call the bank together, we'll call the bank, and basically the bank will authorize us to sell the house for a smaller amount than the actual value of the home. So let's say the home really could sell for 120, but the bank says, okay, we'll take 100. And so the bank has to authorize it, and they have to agree to the certain amount, and then we can represent you as realtors and help you with that way. But you're going to lose your house. You're not going to get anything out of it, but at least it's not going to show up as a foreclosure on your home.
Right.
Then the last thing is, when you actually have a notice from the bank of foreclosure, when you get that notice from that bank that they're going to foreclose on the first Tuesday of the month, because they do foreclose the first Tuesday of every month, and you get that notice, they are going to foreclose. Unless you take the drastic measure of filing for bankruptcy, they are going to foreclose. And so at that point, we cannot put the house up for sale. I cannot do a short sale. The banks, at that point, they've already put so much money into legal fees that they're not going to let us put it for sale. We cannot do a regular sale. We cannot do a short sale. All we can do is we can help you find a cash buyer.
I see.
So we do work with several investors. We can find you a cash buyer who will buy your house as it is. And again, that doesn't mean that you can't say, well, yeah, I'm only going to sell it if you give me $150,000 when you know that you owe $80. They're going to give you, and then the house is in bad condition. Basically, it's going to be a cash buyer that's going to come and buy it. It's going to be an investor who's going to buy it in the condition that it's in, knowing that they're going to fix it up and they're going to eventually flip it. But again, it's almost the same thing. You're getting out of it without being foreclosed, and it's not going to go on your record, on your credit.
Well, I know we have to break soon, but so what final thoughts on that?
Final thoughts are that call a realtor. Don't freeze. Sometimes people panic when they get these notices. They start freezing and they don't do anything. They think it's going to go away. It's not.
Throw the bills away in the trash. Don't throw your bills away in the trash.
It's not going to go away. Don't ignore it. Call a realtor. We can help you.
Great.
So we'll go ahead and go to a commercial, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Casa, Vida, Houston, and we want to talk about some of the events that are going on in the community. There are just so many events going on, guys, with Dia de los Muertos, and then, of course, the holidays are coming up, but I know we've got our calendar of events that we're going to be putting up, and so let's talk about some of these events.
So November 1st, don't forget, last week we had Grupo Indigo with Calavera de Calavera, and it is about the Dia de los Muertos festivities. It's a really interesting historical depiction of what Dia de los Muertos means. Anyway, it starts tonight, so I will be there tonight, by the way. If anybody wants to come check it out, be sure to send us a message and join me in watching the show. Tonight is the opening night, and it plays through the 4th of November.
Yes, and for real estate agents, I wanted you guys to know that the NAREP Katie is having a mixer this evening called Viva Dia de los Muertos. So again, we're still with the Dia de los Muertos theme. And then we've got a couple of other things there. I guess one of the things I wanted to point out was November the 3rd, the Go Tejano Fashion Show. You going to that, Sonia?
Unfortunately, I'm not. I have a board retreat that weekend.
Oh, so. No, I'm going. Okay, I guess I have to party by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm going. That's going to be November the 3rd, the Go Tejano Fashion Show. It's going to be a really nice event, guys. If you still want tickets, I guess you could always go online and see if they still have tickets.
Actually, no, they're sold out. They are sold out,
guys. Sorry, I will have to party for you. And then let me see, we've got over there on the other side, on the top, we've got the Calavera Rendezvous at Mecca. We had them here last week. Downtown Houston, they're having Day of the Dead today through Sunday. And then what else do we have over there, Sonia?
November 3rd, 15th Annual Magnolia Park Dia de los Muertos Block Party. That sounds like a lot of fun. Also November 3rd on Saturday, Children's Museum of Houston, look for Coco. So I think they're going to be showing Coco, right? So the movie, I think they're showing the movie Coco. So
Or
if you
they're
haven't
go-
seen it yet,
Yeah, or they'll probably have definitely some crafts that have to do with Coco. 'Cause I know
Yes.
I've gone a lot to the Children's Museum. They usually probably have activities, maybe.
so that'll be a fun event for the family.
Yes, something. And then also on November the 15th, that's still coming up in a couple of weeks, but NAREP North Houston are having their event. For you guys, realtors out there, make sure you contact them. You can always find them on Facebook, but I just wanted to, let you know ahead of time so you can start planning on being on that. It's the real estate trends, so that's going to be a great event.
And not on the calendar, but not less important, is tomorrow is the last day of early voting. So please get out there and vote. If you have not voted, you have until the end of the day tomorrow to vote anywhere you would like. So election day is actually November 6th. And you have to vote specifically where you're zoned to in your district. So tomorrow's the last day you have to go to any part of Houston, any location in Houston, and vote. Please make sure you get out there and vote. Your vote is your voice, and can't complain if you don't vote.
Exactly. And one thing that I think that is very important, by the way, guys, for those of you that are voting straight ticket, there seems to be a glitch that was on the news. No, I'm not making this up. It's been everywhere that there's a glitch. And of all things, for senator, if you're voting straight Democrat, make sure you check whether it's straight Democrat or a straight ticket Republican. Make sure you check, because if you're voting straight ticket Democrat, some of the ballots will be changed where instead of for Beto, it'll show Ted Cruz.
Right, and
For
then
the Democrat, and then for the
well, it's a glitch, but in any case, anytime you vote, be sure to look at when you finish casting your vote. Always look through to make sure that your candidates are lined up with what you wanted.
But actually, this is a very specific glitch. And then what is happening for the ones that vote straight Republican, when you're voting for Ted Cruz, it shows nothing. There's no box checked off. So then he's not getting the votes.
I see.
So I'm just saying, either way, it's
Check
not fair
your
to either
ballot.
one. And of all things, it's that one position. It's the
Right.
senator that they're getting wrong. And so it pisses me off. I'll be honest with you. I saw this after I voted. I went to vote and I did my voting. I didn't check anything, and I don't know who I voted for. No, but I mean, I know who I intended to vote for, because I did vote straight ticket. So make sure that you check your tickets when you vote. All right, guys. Well, as always, we will be back next Thursday. And we've got a great author, by the way, that's coming here from somewhere else other than Texas. A great author. So we will tell you about him on our page. Make sure you go to our page. As always, you'll see our promo about who we're going to have next week. And we'll see you next week.
See you then.